Every year, over 4 million tons of seafood are transformed through dehydration into products that can last for months or even years without refrigeration, traveling from coastal fishing villages to gourmet restaurants in landlocked cities thousands of miles away. A single processing plant in Norway can dehydrate 30 tons of cod daily, reducing its weight by 80%, while concentrating flavors and proteins to create products worth up to $200 per pound. But how does fresh fish caught from ocean waters become shelf-stable delicacies that command premium prices in Asian markets, European bistros, and American specialty stores? What combination of ancient preservation techniques and modern agriculture technology makes this transformation possible? And why has dried seafood become one of the most valuable exports in the global food trade? Welcome to AgriCraft, where we explore the real stories behind your food. All will be revealed in this video. The practice of drying seafood stretches back thousands of years to when coastal communities discovered that removing moisture from fish, shrimp, and shellfish allowed these protein-rich foods to be stored through lean seasons and transported inland to populations far from the sea. Archaeological evidence shows that Vikings dried cod on wooden racks in the cold Arctic air over 1,000 years ago, creating stockfish that fueled their long voyages of exploration and trade. In Asia, dried seafood became central to cuisines across China, Japan, Korea, and Southeast Asia, where products like dried shrimp, scallops, squid, and various fish species served as both everyday ingredients and luxury items for special occasions. The cultural significance of dried seafood in Asian markets cannot be overstated, with certain products like dried abalone and sea cucumber commanding prices exceeding $1,000 per pound due to their perceived health benefits and status as symbols of prosperity. The global dried seafood market is now valued at over $15 billion annually and continues growing as international trade expands and consumer interest in traditional foods increases. China dominates both production and consumption, accounting for roughly 40% of the world market with consumption exceeding 1 million tons per year. Japan follows as both a major producer and consumer, particularly for products like katsuobushi, the dried bonito flakes essential to Japanese cuisine. Norway leads in dried cod production, exporting over 20,000 tons annually, primarily to Italy, Portugal, and Nigeria, where dried cod forms the basis of traditional dishes. Thailand and Vietnam have emerged as major producers of dried shrimp, squid, and various fish species, with processing plants lining their coasts, transforming fresh catches into export products. The United States participates primarily as an importer and increasingly as a producer of premium dried seafood, with operations in Alaska, the Pacific Northwest, and New England developing products for both domestic specialty markets and export to Asia. The journey begins not in fields but in waters, with careful selection of species and fishing methods that will yield seafood suitable for drying. Not all fish and shellfish dry well, so producers focus on species with firm flesh, low oil content, and flavors that intensify rather than deteriorate during dehydration. Cod, haddock, and pollock are ideal for drying due to their lean white flesh that becomes dense and flaky when dried. Shrimp of various sizes work exceptionally well, with small shrimp often dried whole, while larger ones may be peeled and split before drying. Squid and cuttlefish produce popular dried products across Asian markets. Scallops, abalone, and sea cucumber represent the luxury end of the market. Anchovies, herring, and various small fish species are dried for use as seasonings and soup bases. Even salmon and tuna are dried, though their higher oil content requires different processing approaches than lean white fish. Sourcing begins with fishing operations that may range from small-scale artisanal boats to industrial trawlers equipped with advanced technology. For premium dried products, quality starts at catch. Fish must be handled carefully to prevent bruising, kept cool immediately, and processed quickly to maintain freshness. Many drying operations are located directly at fishing ports, allowing fish to move from boat to processing plant within hours of being caught. Some operations even have their own fishing vessels, ensuring complete control over quality from ocean to finished product. Aquaculture has become increasingly important as a source for dried seafood, particularly for species like shrimp, scallops, and certain fish, where farming allows consistent supply and controlled quality. Farmed seafood can be harvested at optimal size and processed immediately. Advantages that wild-caught seafood cannot always match. Environmental requirements for aquaculture production of seafood destined for drying mirror those for fresh seafood, but with additional considerations. Shrimp farms in Thailand and Vietnam cultivate Pacific white shrimp in brackish water ponds, where salinity, temperature, and water quality are carefully managed. The shrimp are fed specialized diets containing proteins, vitamins, and minerals that promote growth and firm texture. Stocking densities must balance productivity with stress levels, as stressed shrimp develop soft texture and disease susceptibility that make them unsuitable for premium dried products. Water quality monitoring happens multiple times daily, with dissolved oxygen, pH, ammonia, and nitrite levels checked constantly. Scallop farming happens in coastal waters using lantern nets or ear-hanging methods where juvenile scallops grow suspended in the water column, feeding on natural phytoplankton. These operations require clean water free from pollution and harmful algal blooms that can accumulate toxins in shellfish tissue. Cultivation and breeding programs for aquaculture have advanced dramatically through agriculture technology. Selective breeding produces shrimp strains with faster growth, better disease resistance, and superior meat quality. Genetics programs track lineages and use sophisticated statistical models to identify the best breeding candidates. Hatcheries produce billions of juvenile shrimp annually, raising them from eggs through larval stages in controlled facilities before transferring to grow-out ponds. The larvae are fed specialized diets of algae and enriched brine shrimp, progressing through multiple developmental stages over 3 to 4 weeks. Temperature control, water flow, and disease management in hatcheries require constant attention, as a single pathogen outbreak can wipe out entire production batches. Similar hatchery operations exist for scallops, oysters, and various fish species, providing the foundation stock for coastal farming operations. Harvest timing is critical for seafood destined for drying. Wild-caught fish are harvested according to seasonal patterns, gear restrictions, and quota management systems designed to maintain sustainable populations. Modern fishing vessels use fish finders, GPS navigation, and electronic monitoring systems to locate schools and optimize catch while minimizing bycatch of non-target species. For farmed seafood, harvest happens when animals reach target size and optimal meat quality. Shrimp are typically harvested at 12 to 16 weeks after stocking, reaching sizes from 40 to 70 shrimp per pound depending on market preferences. Harvesting involves draining ponds partially and using nets to collect the shrimp, which are immediately placed in ice slurry to prevent deterioration. Scallops are harvested from nets using boats equipped with hydraulic systems that lift the heavy nets from the water. The shellfish are shucked on board or transported live to processing facilities. Transportation to processing plants must maintain the cold chain to preserve quality. Fish and shellfish are highly perishable, with enzymatic activity and bacterial growth beginning immediately after death. Ice is the traditional cooling method, with fish packed in layers of crushed ice that maintains temperatures near 32 degrees. Modern vessels and transport trucks use refrigerated holds or containers with precise temperature control. Some high-value catches are frozen at sea using blast freezers that rapidly reduce temperature to -30 degrees or below, essentially stopping all degradation. However, most seafood destined for traditional drying processes remains fresh or lightly chilled rather than frozen, as freezing can damage cellular structure and affect the texture of the final dried product. Upon arrival at the processing plant, the transformation from fresh seafood to dried product begins with rigorous quality inspection. Trained graders examine each batch for freshness indicators including clear eyes, bright red gills, firm flesh, and absence of off odors. Any fish showing signs of deterioration are rejected immediately. The seafood is weighed and sorted by size, with industrial machines using vision systems and conveyor belts to separate small, medium, and large specimens into different processing streams. Accurate sizing ensures uniform drying, as pieces of similar size dehydrate at the same rate and reach target moisture levels simultaneously. The grading and sorting happens in temperature-controlled facilities maintained below 50 degrees to slow bacterial growth. Cleaning represents the next critical step, governed by strict hygiene standards. The seafood moves through washing stations, where high-pressure sprays of cold water remove surface slime, blood, and debris. For whole fish, automated gutting machines make precise cuts and extract internal organs, with some facilities processing over 10,000 fish per hour through these systems. The machines use mechanical fingers and vacuum systems to remove viscera cleanly while minimizing damage to the flesh. Workers inspect each fish after mechanical processing, manually removing any remaining organs or bloodlines. Shrimp may be peeled using machines with rubber rollers that squeeze the shells off while leaving meat intact. Or they may be dried with shells on depending on the target market. Squid are cleaned to remove internal structure and skin, then may be sliced into rings or left whole. Throughout the cleaning process, seafood remains in contact with flowing cold water to maintain temperature and wash away contaminants. The preparation for drying varies by product type and traditional preferences. Norwegian stockfish is produced by simply hanging whole gutted cod in the cold Arctic air. But most modern dried seafood undergoes additional preparation steps. Fish may be split open, creating a butterfly cut that exposes more surface area for faster drying. Some products are cut into fillets or steaks. Shrimp are often split lengthwise if large, or left whole if small. Salt plays a role in many drying processes, with seafood being either dry, salted where salt is rubbed directly onto the flesh, or brined in salt solutions. The salt serves multiple functions, including drawing out moisture, inhibiting bacterial growth, and enhancing flavor. Salt concentration and duration of salting are carefully controlled, as too much salt creates overly salty products, while too little allows spoilage. Typical salt brines range from 10 to 25% salt by weight, with immersion times from 30 minutes to several hours depending on product thickness. Modern dehydration technology offers multiple approaches beyond traditional sun and air drying. Industrial machines in processing plants provide controlled environments where temperature, humidity, and airflow are precisely managed. Cabinet dryers consist of insulated chambers with trays stacked on racks, with heated air circulated by powerful fans. The seafood is arranged in single layers on the trays, ensuring even air exposure. Temperatures typically range from 90 to 130 degrees for fish, and slightly lower for delicate shrimp. The process takes 12 to 36 hours depending on product size and target moisture content. Continuous belt dryers handle larger volumes, with conveyor belts slowly moving through heated tunnels several hundred feet long. Seafood enters at one end and emerges fully dried at the other, with different zones maintaining different temperatures and humidity levels to optimize the drying curve. These systems can process several tons per hour, making them suitable for industrial-scale operations. Freeze drying represents the premium end of dehydration technology, though it remains relatively uncommon for traditional dried seafood due to high costs. In this process, frozen seafood is placed in vacuum chambers, where ice sublimates directly from solid to vapor without passing through liquid phase. The result is exceptionally high-quality dried product, with superior rehydration properties and nutrition retention, but the equipment and energy costs limit use to very high-value products. Spray drying is used for creating seafood powders from fish or shrimp that have been liquefied, producing ingredients for soup bases, seasonings, and processed foods. Quality control during the drying process involves constant monitoring. Moisture meters test samples hourly, tracking the declining water content. The target final moisture level varies by product, typically ranging from 12 to 25% for most dried seafood. Lower moisture creates longer shelf life but may sacrifice some texture and rehydration quality. Too much residual moisture allows mold growth and spoilage during storage. In addition to moisture, the The seafood is inspected visually for proper color development, with most products darkening as they dry. The texture should be firm, but not brittle, with some flexibility remaining. Temperature probes throughout the drying chambers ensure even heat distribution, and any equipment malfunction triggers alarms that alert operators to prevent batch losses. After drying reaches completion, the seafood undergoes a conditioning or equalizing period where moisture content stabilizes throughout the product. The dried seafood is transferred to holding areas and left for several hours or days, allowing any localized moisture pockets to distribute evenly. This prevents later problems where some pieces might spoil while others remain perfectly preserved. A final quality inspection examines every batch for proper dryness, acceptable color, absence of mold or off odors, and correct texture. Random samples are sent to laboratories for detailed analysis, including moisture content verification, microbial testing to ensure food safety, and sometimes protein or nutritional analysis for premium products. Packaging of dried seafood requires materials that protect against moisture reabsorption and oxygen exposure while being convenient for consumers. Most products are vacuum sealed in thick plastic bags that are impermeable to air and water vapor. The vacuum sealing removes air from the package, preventing oxidation that would degrade fats and cause rancid flavors even in lean fish. Some products are packaged with nitrogen flushing, where nitrogen gas replaces air in the package, again preventing oxidation. For very high-value dried seafood like abalone or premium dried scallops, individual pieces may be wrapped separately before being placed in decorative boxes with desiccant packets that absorb any residual moisture. Automated packaging systems handle the bulk of production, with machines filling pre-measured portions into bags, drawing vacuum or flushing gas, heat sealing the closures, and applying labels with product information, lot numbers, and expiration dates. Labeling must meet food safety regulations for every destination market. Labels include common names in relevant languages, ingredient lists showing any added salt or preservatives, net weight, storage instructions, and nutritional information. Many products destined for international shipping include multiple languages on single packages. Barcodes and QR codes enable tracking through distribution channels and provide consumers access to origin information and cooking suggestions. Some premium brands emphasize sustainability certifications, wild-caught versus farm designations, or geographic origin claims that command higher prices. Storage before distribution happens in climate-controlled warehouses, maintained at cool temperatures with low humidity. While properly dried seafood can technically be stored at room temperature, cooler conditions extend shelf life by slowing the chemical reactions that gradually degrade quality. Some operations use cold storage at temperatures near freezing for long-term holding of inventory, which can extend shelf life from months to years. The storage areas are kept dark as light exposure can fade colors and accelerate fat oxidation. Pest control is critical, as insects are attracted to dried seafood and can infest packages. So warehouses employ integrated pest management using traps, monitoring, and controlled access. Distribution channels for dried seafood span the globe, reflecting both traditional trade routes and emerging markets. Asian specialty stores in North America and Europe stock extensive selections of dried seafood, serving immigrant communities and increasingly attracting adventurous mainstream consumers. Online retailers have democratized access, with websites offering hundreds of varieties of dried fish, shrimp, squid, and shellfish that can be shipped nationally or internationally. Shipping methods depend on destination and urgency, with air freight used for premium products or rush orders, while ocean shipping serves for bulk commodities. The packages are consolidated into containers, with temperature-controlled shipping for products sensitive to heat. Export documentation includes certificates of origin, health certificates verifying food safety compliance, and customs declarations. Some countries require additional certification, such as verification that products were not treated with prohibited preservatives or that wild-caught seafood came from legal, sustainable sources. The market segmentation in dried seafood is remarkable. At the commodity end, Small dried anchovies and shrimp serve as everyday ingredients in Asian cooking, priced at just a few dollars per pound and used by millions of home cooks daily. Mid-tier products like dried squid strips or larger dried shrimp find use in both home cooking and restaurants, priced from $10 to $30 per pound. Premium dried seafood, including certain fish, large scallops, and specialty items, command $50 to $100 per pound, marketed to affluent consumers and high-end restaurants. At the ultra-luxury tier, dried abalone, sea cucumber, and certain rare fish products exceed several hundred or even $1,000 per pound, purchased primarily as gifts or for banquet dishes, where their presence demonstrates wealth and respect for guests. Byproducts from dried seafood processing create additional revenue streams and support sustainability. The heads, frames, and trimmings removed during cleaning are not wasted. These materials are processed into fish meal, a protein-rich ingredient used in animal feeds, particularly for aquaculture, poultry, and pigs. The processing involves cooking, pressing to remove oil, and drying the remaining solids into shelf-stable meal. Fish oil extracted during meal production contains omega-3 fatty acids valuable for both animal nutrition and human supplements. Some processors extract collagen from fish skin and bones, selling it to cosmetics companies or supplement manufacturers. Even the smallest scraps can be composted and returned to agriculture as fertilizer, closing nutrient loops. Culinary applications of dried seafood are incredibly diverse. In Chinese cuisine, dried shrimp add concentrated umami flavor to fried rice, stir-fries, and dumpling fillings. Dried scallops are shredded and used in congee, steamed dishes, and soups where they rehydrate and impart intense seafood essence. Dried fish are steamed and served as accompaniments to rice, or ground into powder for seasoning. Japanese cooking relies heavily on katsuobushi, dried bonito flakes shaved paper thin, and used to make dashi, the fundamental broth underlying much of the cuisine. Korean cooking incorporates dried anchovies into soup stocks and side dishes. In European traditions, dried cod is rehydrated and used in Portuguese bacalhau, Italian bacalhau, and Caribbean saltfish dishes, where the preserved fish takes on new textures and flavors through soaking and cooking. Modern chefs in fine dining establishments have rediscovered dried seafood, using products like botarga, the dried mullet or tuna roe, to add complexity and luxury to pasta dishes and salads. Rehydration methods vary by product and intended use. Most dried seafood benefits from soaking in water or mild broth, with times ranging from 20 minutes for thin shrimp to overnight for large pieces of dried fish. Some cooks prefer multiple water changes during soaking to remove excess salt. The rehydrated seafood is then used similarly to fresh seafood in cooking. Importantly, some dried products are not meant for rehydration but are consumed as is. Dried squid strips are popular snacks throughout Asia, eaten directly as chewy, salty treats. Certain dried fish are grilled or toasted to intensify flavor and eaten as bar snacks or side dishes without rehydration. Nutritional value of dried seafood is impressive due to the concentration effect of removing water. By weight, dried seafood contains far more protein, vitamins, and minerals than fresh seafood. Dried shrimp can be over 70% protein with significant levels of calcium, iron, and vitamin B12. The dehydration process preserves most nutrients effectively, though some heat-sensitive vitamins may be reduced. The omega-3 fatty acids in fish remain largely intact through drying if the process is carefully controlled. However, dried seafood also concentrates sodium when salt is used in processing, making portions that are small by weight potentially high in sodium content. This nutritional density means that small amounts of dried seafood can meaningfully contribute to dietary needs, an important consideration in regions where fresh protein is expensive or unavailable. Environmental impact and sustainability are increasingly important considerations in seafood production and processing. Overfishing remains a serious concern, with many fish stocks depleted by excessive harvest pressure. The dried seafood industry participates in this challenge, as the ability to preserve and ship seafood globally increases market reach and potentially demand beyond sustainable levels. Responsible producers are adopting third-party certification programs like Marine Stewardship Council for wild-caught seafood and Aquaculture Stewardship Council for farmed products. These certifications require audits verifying that fishing practices are sustainable, environmental impacts are minimized, and social standards are met. Some dried seafood companies are working directly with fishing communities to improve practices, providing equipment and training that enable more selective fishing methods, reducing bycatch. Aquaculture for dried seafood raises different sustainability questions. Shrimp farming has been criticized for destruction of mangrove forests to build ponds, pollution from waste discharge, and disease outbreaks requiring antibiotic use. However, improved management practices are addressing many concerns. Modern shrimp farms use recirculating systems that treat water before discharge or even achieve zero discharge through complete recycling. Biosecurity measures reduce disease risk, decreasing antibiotic needs. Some farms are integrating multiple species, where fish or seaweed grown alongside shrimp utilize waste nutrients, creating more balanced ecosystems. Feed technology is advancing to replace wild-caught fish meal with ingredients from plants or insects, reducing pressure on ocean fish populations used for feed. Energy use in drying is another environmental consideration. Traditional sun and air drying use no fossil fuels but depend on favorable weather and take longer, potentially limiting where and when production is possible. Industrial dryers require substantial energy input, with fuel or electricity costs representing significant operational expenses. Some facilities are installing solar thermal systems to preheat air before it enters dryers, reducing fossil fuel consumption. Others use waste heat from other processes or biomass fuels from agricultural residues. The trade-offs between processing speed, product quality, energy use, and costs are complex, with different solutions appropriate for different scales and markets. Looking at the dried seafood industry through the lens of agriculture technology reveals fascinating parallels with land-based food production. Both sectors are applying precision monitoring, automated processing, quality control systems, and sustainability practices. Both balance traditional knowledge passed through generations with cutting-edge innovation. Both serve global markets while maintaining cultural significance in specific regions. The skills required range from the practical knowledge of fishers and farmers who understand seasons, species, and environmental conditions, to the technical expertise of engineers designing drying systems and food scientists optimizing preservation methods, to the business acumen of traders navigating international markets and regulations. The future of dried seafood appears promising despite challenges. Growing global populations and rising incomes in developing countries are expanding markets for protein-rich foods, including seafood. Dried products offer advantages in regions with limited refrigeration infrastructure, providing shelf-stable protein that can withstand tropical heat and unreliable power supplies. Innovation continues in processing technology, with research into new drying methods, natural preservatives, and packaging systems that further extend shelf life or improve convenience. Consumer interest in traditional foods and ethnic cuisines exposes new audiences to dried seafood, creating opportunities for producers who can explain and market these products effectively. From the boats and farms where seafood begins its journey through cleaning facilities where skilled workers prepare it for preservation, into industrial machines that remove moisture while concentrating flavors, through packaging systems protecting quality during global distribution, to kitchens, where cooks transform dried seafood into memorable dishes. This industry represents an essential link between ocean resources and human nutrition. The 4 million tons processed annually feed hundreds of millions of people, support thousands of coastal communities, and connect cultures through shared appreciation for these preserved products. Thank you for watching this exploration of dried seafood production here on AgriCraft. If you found this journey from ocean to table informative, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more seafood documentary content and deep dives into food processing technology. Leave a comment below telling us about your favorite dried seafood product or questions about this fascinating industry. Until next time, keep exploring the remarkable stories behind your food.